Ever feel like you're doing this teaching thing alone? You don't have to be. Shared teaching is all about sharing the workload through the power of collaboration and teamwork. Together, we'll walk through all the difficult parts of teaching and learn how to streamline our processes, fine-tune our time management, and develop a more manageable workload. If that sounds like a dream come true to you, then welcome to the Shared Teaching Podcast. Let's share in the teaching to make those dreams a reality. Now here's today's Shared Teaching. Hello and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Shared Teaching Podcast. I'm your host, Susan, creator and founder behind Shared Teaching, and you are listening to episode 129. And today we're going to talk about writing a stellar teaching resume. So if you're an elementary teacher just starting out, or maybe you're switching grade levels, writing an impressive teaching resume is going to be crucial for getting the job that you want. Your resume is your ticket for showing off your skills, experiences, and qualifications to potential employers. Whether you're new to teaching or you're looking for a change, here's a comprehensive guide on how to write a teaching resume that catches attention. So first, let's talk about the basics of teaching or writing a teaching resume. So your teaching resume isn't just a list of jobs. It's a smart document that showcases what makes you great in education. You're really trying to sell yourself to somebody that's never met you. So here's some tips. First, you're going to think of formatting and structure. So you're going to keep it nice and clean. You're going to use a simple layout with clear sections and easy to read fonts. You're going to have nice space, white space between your sections. And you want to make sure that it's not cutesy, you're not having fun, hard to decipher fonts, right? None of that crazy cursive stuff that looks really cute, maybe on a classroom poster, maybe not so great for someone that's reading through like 100 resumes and their eyes are really hurting by the end of that, right? Think of if you're the 101st resume that someone's encountering. You don't want to make your reason to stand out for having a poor font that's really hard to read. So make sure that you use something very classic, very simple, something like Verdana or Arial or can't think of anything else right now. But those are some really good ones. They're just nice, simple, clean fonts, okay? You want to make sure you include several things. You're going to start with your contact information at the top, so it's really easy to find your email, your phone number. You want to then add sections like objective or summary, education, certifications, teaching experience, professional development, and finally, skills. You're going to place these headings in a bold type to make them stand out. Again, principals are looking and scanning hundreds of resumes, so you want to make it very easy for them to find what they're looking for. If they're looking for a very specific second grade position, then you want to make sure it's clear somewhere in your resume that that is what you are drawn to. Okay, make it easy to find. Okay, second, let's talk about that objective or summary statement. You're going to customize it. You're going to tailor this objective or summary for each job you apply to. And yes, I know that's a lot of work, but it's okay. This is the only section you're going to possibly change for each job you're applying for. You want to show how your skills match what the interviewer is looking for. If the job is for a second grade teacher, talk about the great results you got from the phonics screener from the beginning to the end of the year, or a special project that you've done with your class, or even if you're still student teaching, maybe you did an amazing project as a student teacher that the kids just loved and were really engaged in. This is the time to make it stand out in a very quick 2 to 3 sentence objective or summary at the top. I am looking to become a second grade teacher because I feel I'm the great fit because, or some way to draw their attention to how you stand out is what you're going to put in this objective statement. Okay, next is your education and certifications. You really want to show your stuff. You want to show you know what you know, right? So you're listing your degrees, your certifications, some courses that are related to teaching or even just working with children if you're coming in from a student teaching position. It's okay to use your background of working in a daycare. Maybe you helped schedule things. Those are crossover jobs that work well from daycare to teacher that you want to talk about in your resume. It's okay that it's not a teaching background, but you're working with children in some capacity, and they're going to see that, especially nowadays where there's a lot of openings, a lot of positions for teachers, that it's okay to have some wiggle room. We're seeing a lot more people that are coming to the classroom with no teaching background. This is how you're going to make it sound like you feel capable of the job. And I'm sure you are capable of the job. We just have to make sure it comes across on paper, okay? So education and certification, teaching or teaching adjacent, working with children in some capacity. If you've won any awards or honors, definitely mention those, okay? So for example, in my resume, I helped run an after-school program, and it had, it's been so many years now. It was insane. It was like over 220 kids in the after-school program, like 20 plus actual clubs that I had to be in charge of and keep track of, and I budgeted for it. Like I did all of that whole thing, and it was funded by a grant. So that is something that makes me stand out, or it did in the past, because I had that ability to, if you want this grant, I can help you because I've already run it. I know how it works. I know what they're expecting. I know the parameters that you're working within. So things like that are going to go in this certification education spot. Next up, teaching experience. You're going to highlight your wins. So instead of just listing your duties, right? Oh, I took the kids to recess and supervised them. I helped them during lunch duty, open milks. You don't need to talk about all that, right? Those are just normal everyday teaching jobs, right? Teaching duties. You want to make sure you're talking about what you've achieved in past teaching roles. Things like numbers and results, improving test scores are really going to help you stand out. So for example, you're going to say something about improved reading scores by X% on the state test. They're going to look at that and be like, wow, we really need to improve our reading scores. This person can help me get it done. Maybe you want to kind of sneak a peek on their website. A lot of schools have to put out there what their goals were for the year, what they're working to achieve. So you can usually find some of that information on their website. So you come armed into the interview knowing those things, and you can kind of tailor your resume going, oh, hey, their focus was math. Well, I rock at math scores, so I'm going to put that in my resume. Make sure it correlates, right? Okay, next up is professional development and skills. So you're going to show how you like to grow here. You're going to include any workshops, conferences, certifications you've done to keep learning. Are you CPR trained? Put that in there. Maybe they're looking for somebody that's willing to be on their CPR, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank what it's called now, their CPR group, right? They're looking for people that can run like the defibrillator. Excuse my words today. They're looking for people that can assist in those kind of positions, right? So you can put that if you don't want to do those kind of things, and maybe don't call that out on your resume. But maybe you do some summer workshops. Maybe you go to conferences and you really enjoy taking online classes. These are the places that you can put those things that you like to do. Skills like classroom management, lesson planning, and tech know-how are also important. So highlight any kind of skills you have like that. Are you a Google certified teacher? Put that in there. Have you done Flipgrid or Adobe with your kids? Put that in there as well. Showcase how you like to use those kind of tools, because maybe they're looking for somebody that's tech savvy, and that's you, and you just didn't put it on your resume. This is, again, the time to sell yourself, so you really want to make sure you're putting that on your resume for everyone to see. Call it out. It's important. Okay. Now that we've got the teaching resume out of the way, let's talk about the value of a teaching portfolio. Now, I've talked about this before on my podcast, and I'm going to give you some episodes here you can go back and look at later. Again, it's going to be in the show notes because there's quite a few of them that all kind of go together. So episode 63 and episode 6 are all about teaching portfolios. Episode 63 is about why you should interview with a teaching portfolio. Episode 6 is about inside peek look at my teaching portfolio. Disclaimer, I do have an editable teaching portfolio that you can completely, totally customize and bring into an interview. So I'm going to list that as well in the show notes. And then episode 4 is about preparing for your teaching interview, and episode 5 is what to do after the teaching interview and during the teaching interview. So it's called the teaching interview and beyond. So episode 63, episode 4, episode 5, episode 6 are your go-to podcast episodes to learn more about interviewing techniques and interviewing just in general for a teaching job. Okay, let's get back to a teaching portfolio. I know a lot of people are like, ooh, yeah, that's kind of outdated. I don't want to do that. But think about who you're interviewing for, right? It's probably a professional, a principal that's been around for a while, and maybe they're not so tech savvy and up on the latest things. I mean, you could have a website, but you just have to make sure you're bringing in something to showcase it on in case you can't connect to their things or they don't have the technology available during your interview for you to showcase it. I like to bring out a tried and true printed teaching portfolio. And let me tell you, it has gotten me job after job after job offer. This is what makes me stand out. My resume and my teaching portfolio are a winning combo, and it's a game changer. That teaching portfolio is going to bring everything to life that you're talking about in your resume. It's going to make your resume real. Think of it like a scrapbook of your teaching journey. You're going to include things like a few lesson plans that show off how you write your lesson plan. First of all, they want to look for, are you professional? Can you follow through with writing a proper lesson plan? And also, it's going to show your teaching style. So bring the lesson plans about your favorite lessons and show them how creative you can be. One of the things that I like to showcase in my teaching portfolio is when I did a whole digital storytelling unit, and this was like years ago before tech was a big thing, and I had my students write and then record, draw, edit, publish the whole 9 yards. We turned it into a whole movie thing. It was an amazing thing, and I can talk that up at interviews, and they're going to remember me. Oh yeah, that was that girl that did like the whole movie thing, and her kids made like little mini movies, and then her parents came in, and I had the student council with the popcorn machine, and I printed off movie tickets, and I show pictures of that and examples of the movie tickets and examples of the CDs I passed out. Yes, it was that long ago that everyone took home a CD of their child's recordings. But it's an amazing way to showcase off student writing. And you all know how much I love student writing. So this was me showing them what I'm passionate about and what I can be creative on. Next is student work. You want to prove that your teaching makes a difference. So maybe it's like little love letters from students saying, oh, you were the best teacher, and I love when we did X, Y, and Z together, and thank you for being my teacher. Things like that show that you connect with students. Also, just things that the students have created. Maybe if there's a really cool project or a diorama or something like that, you've taken pictures, and when they ask you like, what was the highlight of your teaching so far, or what was a favorite lesson, you can flip to that page in your portfolio. And this is also where you get to pause and take a breath and think, okay, what am I going to say about this? And it gives you that wait time that you might need to gather your answer in a coherent manner. So having that teaching portfolio is kind of like a little crutch, right? If you get really nervous during interviews, it's a really good way to make yourself like kind of slow down, be like, oh, well, yeah, I have it in here. Let me just show you. And then you kind of, ramble a little bit like that as you flip through those pages, and you're like, oh, here it is. So this one time I did this, and as you're looking at the page, you're remembering the things that you want to say because it's all highlighted right there in your portfolio, okay? So you want to have lesson plans, student work. You don't want to do all your lesson plans, right? Just a showcase. This is just showcasing what makes you amazing. Maybe a couple awards and certificates because you talked about it in your resume. Here's the proof of those certificates and awards. Yes, look, I'm Google certified. Did I mention that? Did you see that on my resume? They might not have. They might have glossed over that section of your resume and missed it. So this is the way you can make it real and relevant and point it out. Recommendations, maybe have some nice recommendation letters. You can put those in there too. Sometimes they ask to see them, sometimes they don't. It really depends on the interview committee. So just having them available and extra copies available that you can leave with them is a great idea too. You also want to leave like an extra copy of your resume. Maybe has a QR code on there, some way they can access a digital version of your teaching portfolio if they want to look at it more in depth later. Give them those options. Okay, last but not least, you want to make sure you have some kind of reflections in there. You're talking about why you teach the way you do, how you've grown as a teacher. If you haven't taught yet, this is showing that you're ready for success. You are having a section in there about classroom management. You're having a section in there about how you're going to set up your classroom. You've imagined all these things, right? You have it in place. You're ready to go. You're not just another new-to-be teacher from student teaching, right? Showcase your strengths. Okay, when you have that well-organized teaching portfolio, you can rock your interviews. You can talk about your teaching experiences with those examples. It shows you're ready, you're serious, and you're passionate about teaching. And it helps those interviewers or that panel see how you're going to fit into their school. Maybe they want somebody passionate like you that's prepared, that's ready, that knows how to succinctly put together a portfolio and a resume to show these things, right? Sell yourself. Don't be afraid. Okay, why you need to have this editable teaching portfolio is because it's going to make putting it together super simple. It'll make sure it looks great. It's going to talk you through all those sections, and it's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to help you look professional. You can personalize it by customizing the colors to reflect you. You can change around the layouts, like anything you want to do, because it's yours. Make it your style. And you want to update it as your career goes and grows, and you collect new artifacts like new student letters and things like that. Examples of parent communication. All of those things should be in your teaching portfolio. Writing a great teaching resume and putting together this awesome teaching portfolio are the key steps that you're going to and stand out in those interviews. It doesn't just document what you've done, it shows you're committed to making a difference in education. I really believe that the teaching portfolio and the resume together are going to really start your teaching journey strong. It's going to help you show out and stand out among all those other applicants. So if you still have questions related to the teaching interview process, make sure you listen to those related podcasts. I will have them linked to the show notes below. And stay tuned next week for an all-new episode. Good luck on your interviews. Bye for now. If you've loved this show, then join me in sharing the teaching,
hitting that subscribe button,
and leaving us a review on
iTunes,
so we can be found by more teachers like you who are ready to start sharing the workload. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Find new episodes each week on sharedteaching.com. Thanks for listening to the Shared Teaching Podcast. Go ahead.